welcome to the World XP podcast. How you doing today?
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me today. I'm doing great, and I'm really happy and grateful for this opportunity today to share my story, my journey with your audience. So I hope that the lessons we are going to pick up from this conversation will be valuable for whoever is listening. The
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely. I always love getting like these requests from people that don't live in the US because it gives me an opportunity to like pick somebody's brain about somebody who's living in a different culture, a different country, different way of life, all that. So, when you guys reached out, I was like, "Ooh, okay, yes, let's talk to them." Okay, so why don't you do a quick intro, kind of who you are and what you do for the people, and then we'll do the question from the last guest, as always, for the people listening who've become accustomed to that tradition, and then we'll hop into it.
Okay, so I'm Anna, or more specifically Anastasia Ristovska. I'm an international entrepreneur and have two companies who are built in Europe, but we're successfully working in the US for more than 80 years. My personal background is in finances, so all my life I'm doing that, something related with numbers. Regarding my two companies, it's really important to say that even though I'm not located physically in the US, I'm traveling to US for sure to meet my clients and go to conferences and so on. I have managed to build these companies to be very successful, each of them doing different things, even though they are similar. They have different target audience. We are serving different type of customers. So yeah, my first company is NextGeneration, and it's a company that helps accountants, international accountants, to gain a knowledge in accounting rules, communication, and everything, tools, softwares, everything that is needed basically to be a bookkeeper accountant in the US. And I've started this, how to say, very simultaneously because first, when I started my company, I was working as back office support for accountants from US. And nowadays, we are also supporting them by providing workforce when they need it. But having the necessity to train those people for my company's purposes, I've built a training systems that worked very well, and now I'm using them into my bookkeeping academy to basically teach everybody who is interested to switch into this role. While at the other hand, my book said ease, this is accounting practice, working specifically with digital businesses from US. We have a lot of customers from consultants, digital marketing agencies, SaaS, IT companies, so everybody who is in the digital world. And we're helping them with their finances to get some clarity on their numbers, to have a peace of mind when it comes to their numbers, and to make obviously good decisions based on the numbers they're doing. So that's a short intro about me.
Yeah. Did you say how long did you say you had been in business? My ear heard 80 years and then I was like that can't possibly be right because you're not 80. How
No,
long? Eight.
eight
Okay.
years.
I was like,
No.
uh that's okay. Okay. So the next the
Well,
question
if I look like this when I'm 100
well,
years old,
then
then
we'll all
I
be
will be
happy.
really grateful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so speaking of age, the question from the last guest, I did not do this on purpose, by the way, although if somebody thinks I did, I'll take credit for it. The question from the last guest is what advice would you give yourself, your younger self?
Oh, that's a really good question, basically. So, my advice would be don't be afraid to try things. Because when I was growing up in my early childhood, I was educated by my parents to be like focused, disciplined, someone who will invest in education, someone who will, I don't know, follow the rules, everything that needs to be done to be successful. But on the other side, that has another flip on the coin, meaning that if you are following the rules, then you have built some fears inside yourself to try to explore, to make mistakes with simple words. And if I'm now 20 years back or 30 years back, whatever, I will say to myself, whatever your path is or plan is, don't be afraid to experiment, to try things, because that way, yes, of course, you will be making mistakes, but mistakes are something that you can learn from. And I had a really hard thing to adopt this mindset lately when I was building my professional career, that it's no big deal if you make mistakes. I mean, we are human beings. We are learning from those mistakes. So yeah, that would be what I will say to myself.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially at least I'm not sure how familiar you are with kind of American culture and the regional kind of differences between like West Coast and East Coast and New York and DC, etc. But at least in Northern Virginia, when I was growing up, there was a lot of um yeah, you're expected to get these grades and you have to go to school and you have to do all these things and you can't take chances because to get into the best schools, you've got to have a 4.9 GPA and find the cure for cancer and get a perfect score on your SAT and do all these other things. Um, and a lot of kids, well, they're not kids now, but when I was in school, a lot of my peers, I think I know, felt a certain level of pressure to achieve that. And I not sure how beneficial that was for them, um, or for me for that matter. But that's a different story for a different day. Um, okay, so when you and I was trying to while you were answering that question, trying to do a quick search and figure out exactly which country you were from. Please remind me.
I'm from Macedonia. It's a small
Okay,
country in Europe. Yes.
yeah. Okay, so when you're growing up, like what is the culture like there in terms of 'cause it's close to Greece and it's on the Mediterranean, so there's kind of that I'll speak broadly. There's a maybe a bit more relaxed feel about some of the Mediterranean cultures than maybe elsewhere. Is that fair to say? So,
Yeah.
what is it?
I wouldn't, yes, I wouldn't say real, yeah, even though we have that type of culture, we are relaxed as people, we like to enjoy life.
Yes, yes. So,
Yes, we, mhm.
growing up, like what, like how does that kind of um push or how was the culture like when you were growing up in terms of expectations for you need to do this or you need to do that? Or do you have kind of, because you mentioned about the trying new things, was that more of a cultural thing or is that more of a you like how was it like to grow up in that environment? And then when you went to the US to build your business and you speak to Americans, like what is it like growing up there? Specifically from the I'm asking for the people that listen to my show, which is mostly based in the US, but also some in England as well and some other various places. Like what the differences would be.
Yes, so growing up in a small country in Europe has its own benefits. First of all, yes, we are close to Greece and we are close to that Mediterranean culture, which means I had a really relaxed childhood. And when I say childhood, I mean until I have entered the university after 18 years. So we had a childhood where we were free to play on the streets. We were hanging out a lot with our peers in the neighborhood, in the school. We had a lot of after school activities like drawing and then or sports or just sitting on the bench and talking about the life problems at that point of time. Um, that's one part of the culture. But on the other hand, as you said, we're not very different from the US when it comes to the education and the rules that apply if you want to be a successful. So I was also in that system when I needed to have a great grades if I want to apply for the university. I had to be perfect in English if I want to continue further with my education. So educational part is, I think, very similar. Europe and US have pretty much similar standards because we are part of that Western culture. But when it comes to the life and the way of living, yes, I can say we are more relaxed. So here, for example, people after, I don't know, 5, 6 p.m. after work, everybody's going into the restaurants. They are having a great lunch or drinks with their friends, with their family. So they're not like so much stressed for achieving things, doing things like in the US it is. Because when I was talking to my clients and people there I feel that there is a lot of stress in their everyday life. So everything is about being successful at work, make this amount of money, buy this type of car, buy this type of house, I don't know. Here in the Europe, especially this part, people are satisfied with smaller things. I mean, even though we are trying to reach certain goals in our lives, we don't bother ourselves if, I don't know, if we don't have expensive car. I mean, and that's a cultural
Hmm.
thing. And I think if we analyze that objectively, I will say that's a more healthier way of life because in your life you are going to face with a lot of situations and not you won't have everything at every single time. So if you find a peace inside yourself and be satisfied with what you have at certain point, of course working to get more, because that's another thing. Being satisfied can easily bring you in a comfort zone and then stagnation and doing nothing. But it's more healthy for your mind, for your soul. I don't know how to say, but yes, I think it's better.
Yeah. Is there strong like family? Is the family a strong kind of cultural thing in Macedonia? Because I
Yes.
think also here, um, there's I mean certain I'll say generally speaking, there's not really an emphasis on family. There is to a certain extent, but not from like the standpoint of like I've got soccer teammates that like their whole like three generations of family still live together here, or family is everything to them, and it's like not really the case here. Is that kind of how those values were instilled in terms of being satisfied, or I don't know if grateful is the right word, but appreciating the simpler things, the littler things, is that kind of where that starts there? Is it ingrained in like the from early childhood, parents like, oh, be appreciative of whatever the thing is, the whatever the little thing is?
Yes, the family is a, how to say, a backbone of the living here because everybody is very closely related to the core family. And the reason for that is that we are a small country and everybody is in some sort of, I don't know, relative friend with someone if you're living in the same city. So the thing that you're closely related to family means that you can have support when bad times come. And we are that sort of culture that if you have a problem, financial, whatever problem you have, you can talk to your family and someone will help you on some way. Either, I don't know, offer you to live at their place or maybe borrow you some money to do something. And that sort of, how to say, stability in your mind that okay, whatever happens in my life, I have someone here to support me, to rely on, maybe makes that feeling that okay, I appreciate the smaller things, or I can feel not so stressed when the problems come. But now, on the other hand, which I must say is that we are also part of the global economy and global things that are going on. So we are not like living in a bubble or
Yeah.
isolated world. And the pressure that is coming on now, especially with the newer generation regarding, I don't know, making success overnight, running over the money, or being successful after, I don't know, 2 years after you have established your business is a really, really big pressure. And now the younger generation are, how to say, not used to being patient, like,
Mm,
because they think that everything is TikTok, Instagram, instant success, instant reality, which is not true. Because if you want to achieve something, for sure you need to invest time, knowledge, resources. It can be overnight, no matter how smart and great you are. So I see those changes in the mindset now, and I think that we are going into another direction because my generation, I'm 40 by the way, we were raised in different environment where we were told that, okay, you need to be good at school, you need to learn, you need to take time to adapt yourself into the reality that you will be facing. Now it's completely different. You need to adapt really quickly because the changes happen really quickly. So that's the stress.
yeah. I think, well, obviously the internet and social media take some responsibility for that. Um, when you were in, I guess, the US equivalent of high school and university, did you always have the like kind of mindset to start your own business, or was part of it the, like you mentioned, that stability from family, like the family unit? Was that a contributing factor to you taking that risk? Because oftentimes as entrepreneurs, I talked to a bunch on the show. One of the questions I always ask is like, when did you know was the right time to take the risk from whatever that your job was that was giving you stable income to, okay, now I'm going to quit this and I'm going to take a chance on this thing that may or may not work. Um, did you have, was that always something that you wanted to do, the entrepreneurial kind of bone, let's say, or or was this maybe an opportunity that presented itself that you saw like a gap in the market that you guys could help, or maybe I guess a little bit of both, but kind of talk through that thought process from for you personally, from um like were you the kid that was doing lemonade stands outside? It's always the story that comes up, or like talk through that kind of that process for you personally in your life and kind of the factors that go into that.
Yes, so 10 years ago, when I was working in the corporate world, I never thought that I will be an entrepreneur because I was trained in another system where you need to be great, you need to be a great performer, but your future is in the corporation. And that's how I've started my early career. I was working in several international companies who had HQ in US but were worldwide spread. And that's how I basically gained my knowledge and expertise beside my education on the US accounting, US way of working, and so on. And at that point, I thought that, okay, my future is here in the corporation. But what happened is that I very, very, very quickly I reached the highest ladder, let's say, and I moved very quickly from entry level position to a C-level position. And I changed several companies in between. But then I realized that, okay, whatever I'm doing, no matter how smart I am, um, I'm hitting the plateau working as a part of the corporation. I mean, that's your salary. It can be bigger for sure, but that's not correlated with your work, with your creativity, with what you're doing. That was first, let's say, aha moment.
Mm,
And then, of course, I realized that there is a gap in the market because I was working very closely with US businesses at that point, and I saw that, okay, no matter how big economy it is and how big opportunities they are, their business owners are still lacking for someone who has knowledge, expertise, and it's reliable. And why is that? Because US bookkeeping market especially is not regulated. So whoever wants to be a bookkeeper can take a course, have some sort of education, and provide that service, which I I'm not saying that that's bad, but not having regulations is also don't having a filter for who is qualified or who is not qualified to do certain things. And I realized that yes, there is a gap, and my expertise and my education, for sure, for all these years, are good enough to start providing that service as an entrepreneur. And also, I saw a potential on the local market because I saw a lot of people, which were my colleagues, my friends from the university, who are really great, but they're not, how to say, valued enough in the workplace they were working as a part of corporation. So I said, okay, this let's try this. Let's go into this journey and see what will happen. So it was a switch. But starting from the day one, when I saw that the freedom, the flexibility, and how to say the result of the how to say, I'm lacking the word of your decisions, that you are the one
Like
who's
ownership.
taking, yes, the decision, and no matter what you're doing, at the end you will have the consequences, or you will be the one who will have rewards from that, but
Mm,
you're the one who is controlling the quality, the output, how much you're investing yourself, and that's rewarded on the other hand. So yeah,
yeah.
it was a slight journey. I wasn't entitled from the very beginning to be an entrepreneur, but now I really love what I'm doing, and I think that this was my right spot
Yeah.
in the universe.
Was responsibility the word that you were looking for? Or ownership maybe? I don't know. One
Yes,
of the
yes,
two.
yes. The ownership.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so were you so you start working in corporate world. At what point did you decide to quit that? Did you start working on the well, I guess so I'll fold both questions into this one, which is when did you decide to quit the corporate world and leave your at I'll say stable income behind, and why also, and so maybe there's three in here. And where did you find Tony? And then why two companies and not just have one that does both of those things? Because they're very similar in what they do.
Yes. Yes. So our story is, yeah, really interesting because when we've started the company together with my husband,
Mm-hmm.
Tony, as you mentioned. And
Oh, well, that's where you found him. So,
yes,
okay,
yes,
sounds
I
good.
found him first and then opened the
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a family business. And which is really interesting is that even though we were growing in that world of stability, having stable income and so on, one day, that was maybe third year after we got married, we decided that now we are going to try this journey together, no matter what. And we sold our apartment where we were living. So that was the funding capital for our first company. And we quit my job and his job at the same time, which was crazy at that point of time. And our parents were worried, like, okay, what we're going to do now. I mean, you both quit your jobs, you've sold your apartment. Okay, you have some money now and some savings, for sure we had savings that we used as well. And now you're going into a journey which is completely unknown for you because both of us, we are not coming from an entrepreneurial family. My father was a still he's retired. He was a doctor, my mother was a judge, and they were like people who were serving the public interests, how to say. And I didn't have a chance to learn entrepreneurial things from someone who is close to my family. So this was completely new journey. And but yeah, we've decided, okay, we're now young. Let's risk. Let's see what will be. If something bad goes on the way, then we can easily find new jobs and go back to the corporation. I mean, we have experience, we have know-how, we can always find a job for 8 to 5. So that's not a problem. So let's try this. And we did. And it was good from this standpoint because we've realized that we have the capacity to do this, and it's really changed our lives on better. And why two companies? Again, first company, when we started working, we were as a back office support for accountants, and then transformed that into the bookkeeping academy, where we will be teaching the people and support accountants with stuff. But then during that process, I've realized that, okay, now maybe it's a good time to start providing the services directly to the companies instead of being a back office support to someone else, which of course, I mean, I appreciate the time that we were working, but now it's time to change that because I have the know-how, I have the experience, and of course, I have a possibility for greater margins when it comes to the business profits. So
Hmm.
that was the reason why we've opened the second company. And they're completely separated. I mean, even though they're in the same space, they're completely separated. So NextGen is one thing, and this is the other
Yeah.
completely thing.
How finding your first client, how difficult or not difficult, I guess, was that? And
Yes.
actually, let me add this in. What you mentioned not having kind of an example for starting your own business in the entrepreneurial kind of type path. Were you guys able to find mentors that helped you along the way? And then so that piece and then how the first client piece.
Yes. So first time when we started, we were only me and him, and we were like exploring, experimenting things. And yes, along the way, we've met with mentors, with people which were longer in the business that helped us to structure our processes, to structure how we are doing the things. And of course, we're using those mentors nowadays as well, because no matter how long you are in the business, you're in different stages. So each stage needs a different type of support. And those mentorships that we have early in those days were really, really valuable because the first thing that our first mentor was a coach who basically helped us to change our mind shift that, okay, now you are not in a corporation. Now you are in some different space where a different skills are needed and different way of thinking is needed. So if you were for example, if in the corporation you were the someone who is following the rules, the processes which were already set up by someone else, now you are in a position when you are the one who need to create those processes, to control them, to adapt and see if it works or not. Then, while we were growing, we, of course, had a mentor for sales because sales is something that is you're learning each and every day, and things are changing constantly. So, how to sell things, then how to build your operational systems, and everything costs money and energy, and but I think that that's the healthy way of if you want to be successful on a long term, you need to invest in yourself and in your knowledge. And my first client, yeah, it was difficult, to be honest. First of all, because our market is miles away from where we are.
Hmm.
So no matter how successful and how not successful is the not right word, how smart and how creative you are, you don't have that opportunity to meet your client in person, like for 2 hours flight or maybe next door. We're miles away, far from our market. So first of all, building that credibility, that trust, someone to give you the opportunity to start working with him or her was difficult. But luckily, I can say that maybe we were lucky. I don't know. We got our first client maybe 3 months after we established our business. And that was a great lady who gave us basically the opportunity. Okay, let's start working together. Let's see what you can do. And then we can build from there. And thanks to my knowledge and expertise, which were not lacking at that point, we performed very well. And then it started from there, word of mouth, referrals. Then we got next two clients within the next 2 months, and that's how we've built on. But
Hmm.
yes, the beginnings were hard.
Talk to those kind of those first 3 months, like you mentioned. And the other thing that I was gonna ask, which you kind of touched on, was building the trust with a market that you can't go talk to the people and show them um, a, a, I'll say not insignificant portion of that trust is kind of has to be taken on like faith that you are who you say you are. There's lots of uh, like people are very aware of scams and different things running around. And so when you get the call from a phone number that's in Europe or somewhere else, a lot of people in the US, well, a portion of people in the US are like, okay, I don't like immediately the alarm bells are going off in the brain of like, who is this person? Why are they talking to me? Are they going to steal my money, et cetera, et cetera. So for you guys, well, I guess just talk through that process. Like hearing no, we're not going to work with you, the rejection, like those first 3 months, was it long enough that you guys were like, yeah, maybe we made a mistake, or not so long that that occurred? Like how, talk through that process between you and Tony, kind of, especially because since you're married, I would imagine those first 3 months put a significant kind of strain on, did we make the right decision? Like all these things.
Yes, absolutely. It was hard. And even though 3 months from this standpoint and from a business standpoint is not a long time, at that point it was crazy.
Yeah, when you're in it, it is a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, it is a very long time, and especially when when you left your stable income, when you're spending your reserves, and you don't know when your client will happen. And of course, it was stressful and crazy at that point because we've never questioned our decision, at least at that point, whether it was smart or not. We knew that we need time to do this, to prove ourselves. But of course, on the other hand, there were sleepless nights when we were waking up at night and just sitting and talking, what we're going to do if this doesn't work. What is our backup plan? But no matter how stressful and hard it was, again, I will say that that vision and that how to say hope that we have a value that we can offer, but it's a matter of time when the right client will see it, and that was how it was.
Mm.
And of course, we had a conversation like this one. We had a Zoom call with our first client. We have presented ourselves, who we are, what we are doing. And it was a connection, or I don't know, a genuine connection that that lady said, okay, let's try based on what I'm hearing. And of course, we cannot prove other way and that we are worth to be given a chance unless we try to show you what we can do. And that lady has an IT company, and that's why when I've basically started to build my books at ease, I focused on digital businesses because those are people who are, how to say, more open-minded. They have chance to work with workforce all around the globe. So they know, okay, there are threats along the way that someone can hurt your business or steal your money, or I don't know. But again, they're very logical and know that if they have correct protocols, correct measures in place, that it's the same like someone is from the US, because there is no difference. Now we are living in a remote world. So no matter if you're living in New York or you're living in Berlin, the threats are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah. And yeah, that way she gave us the opportunity and we've started working with her, and that's how everything started.
So where along the line did you have enough clients that you had to start to hire people? Like like if you go to the if you go to your website, either one. Well, I guess it's the same. It's a similar team working for both companies, right? If I recall correctly, I don't remember looking at the other website, but like when along the line did you guys were like, okay, we have 10 clients, now we've got to start hiring people. And also, I'm trying to look up your website very quickly while I ask the question, but where, like for people listening who might be like, bookkeeping, why do you need help for bookkeeping? Don't you just keep track of whatever it is that you're buying and spending? Like, just put it in a spreadsheet. Like, what is the value that that you guys bring to the table that for for people listening that might not understand or think it's much simpler than it is? So I guess both of those are kind of folded in together, but we can take either one, and then I'll ask the other one again later or whatever. But what is it that you guys bring to the table in terms of like the value and like this is what we do and we do this better than everybody else and this is why you should hire us?
Yes, okay. Let's start with this second question, and then I will go
Yeah, yeah,
back to the first one when I've decided to hire people.
yeah.
So how we're bookkeeping? Yeah, this is really great question because people normally when they hear bookkeeping, they think this is some admin work. We are recording the money in, money out, and I can do that in the spreadsheet, and I don't need a bookkeeper or accountant to do my books. But that's a number one mistake that each business owner is making simply because the bookkeeping is not that. So the bookkeeping is, or accounting is someone to to be with you and make you aware of where you have a potential red flags in your business. Because what we are doing, for example, with our clients, we are doing for sure that admin part, recording transactions, making reports, and so on. But what we are also doing is talking with the clients and explaining their numbers into easy and understandable way for them. So for example, I had a client who was not aware where even though he had a good sales, he was leaving each and every month with a loss. And he was completely confused because he said, okay, I have that portion of sales where my money are going on. And when we sit down and broke down all those expenses that he is paying and what he is paying for, we've realized that we can optimize a lot of the things and cut a lot of the costs that are unnecessary so he can start making profits. Or we have a scenarios when our client is asking you, should I hire someone at this point? Do I have the money to do that? And we're sitting together and see, okay, this is the profits you are making. What are your goals now? In the next quarter? What do you want to achieve with this new hire? Whether this new hire will support your, let's say, quarterly goals that you have in Q1, Q2. If yes, then let's talk about that. If not, maybe it's not a good time to hire someone on that position. Maybe you need to do something else to invest in the tools that you're building on to make a better tool so you can sell them more on the market, or to invest in a customer support, because the SaaS software
Hmm.
companies that I'm working with are constantly developing things that, and they're fighting for the portion on the market, because now there are a lot of tools and apps that you can use every day. So who is better? Who is better? Better is the one who has a better customer support. Because if I am waiting, for example, for 1 week to get a response on the problem on the tool I'm using, then it's useless. And such things. So we're not only someone who is recording the transactions, we're people who are sitting with them, working with them to achieve their goals.
Mm.
And back to your first question, when I've decided to hire people, so my two companies are different, and we are not the same. People are not working for the two companies. So I have one team who is working for NextGen,
Hmm.
and completely different team who is working for Bookseries. For the NextGen, when we were, because we were working on a bigger projects, um, it comes to a moment when you need to hire, let's say, three people at once, because that company that wants to outsource the full accounting department to you has three roles: AR, AP, or and general ledger, bookkeeper. So you are hiring three people to support that company. When it comes to the books at ease, depending on the business, one accountant, one bookkeeper can handle 20 clients in the same time. Again, depending on the complexity, the client requirements, and so on, but that's some average. 15 to 20 clients are per one bookkeeper. So it's completely different, and also completely different the way you're building your operational systems in place, how you're measuring the employee efficiency, and so on and so on. So, yeah, even though we are working in the same space, the problems are completely
Right.
different
Yeah.
for the two.
How do you pick who you hire, right? So the reason I ask that is because a lot of companies say, well, we check the resume and then we interview them. And I think for me, as somebody who interviews people a lot for like this podcast in particular, there's a a lot of different ways that you can find a best fit for a certain position. So obviously, if there's a level of kind of expertise that is needed for a certain area, right, you're going to ask a lot of accounting questions, of course. But to work in a startup or a very small business versus be an accountant in a large corporation, these are not really, they're the skill sets are slightly different. The personalities are slightly different that you need. So when you were hiring people, how did you guys decide how you were going to hire people? Was this something that you guys put in place prior to, like, okay, you've got a client and you need to hire these three people, and this is how we're going to do it? Or was it kind of more quick, no, we need these people, and it's on the fly deciding? Um, and then what were the mechanisms that you guys put in place to ensure that these people, right? Because if you have a small business and you've got is you and Tony and two other people, and the other two people both are not good at their jobs, and you made four hires, then that's half of your business is bad. It's like this is not a good like ratio, you know what I mean? So like how did you figure that out?
Yes, so when we are hiring people, of course, first we put emphasis on their education and experience, what they have. They're going through some accounting tests because they will be serving clients from accounting, so they need to know accounting for sure. And then we're testing them for communication skills and tech savviness. So that's our three technical things that we are
You said tax savviness
tech savviness, yes.
or tech?
Tech
Okay,
savviness.
gotcha.
Tech savviness, yes. And that's very important because since we are working remotely, every team member should be good at this, have a good communication, and of course, know accounting to be able to do this job. But other than that, what we're looking for is the personality and the attitude. And sometimes I had a situation in the past when, of course, this was a process of learning. First, when I was hiring in my early days, I hired people based on their background. I checked their CV, we had a short conversation, and then I hired them. But then in during the process, I realized that the skills, technical skills that a person has are not the most important thing because skills can be learned
Odd. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
taught. Yes, the attitude is something that cannot be. You're either proactive or you're not. You're someone who wants to solve problems or you're not. You're someone who is friendly, open-minded, caring for and empathetic for client problems or it's not. So then I realized that okay, let's check the personality. Let's have an honest conversation with the people and see are they a good fit or not. And of course, whether they're sharing your values, because each, especially in the small businesses, the company is the owner. So all your values, which you're bringing from your personal life, you're bringing into your business as well. So if those values are not aligned with yours as an owner, then you will have a problem. And it can be the best worker in the world if there is no fit between these two things, then the problems will appear later or sooner. So yes,
How do you
skills
ask
and personality.
what sorts of questions do you ask to find fit and personality and attitude and communication skills? Because those are the things, right? This is exactly what I was getting at with the hiring piece is like, yeah, you can give them a test and they can do their accounting and you can make sure that they know how to use Excel and Word and whatever other technical applications that you guys are using. But in an interview, you get the generally speaking, you get that person presenting the best version of themselves. And what really you need to know is like when this person's had a hard day, maybe they've got a problem with family, are they going to still be the person that's driven and proactive and all these things? And that's the piece that I think is very hard to solve for as an interviewer hiring for a position, right? I don't in this sort of role, I don't really have to deal with that because you and I hop off the call, you send me the info that I need, and then we release the things, and then it's done. But for you, you're working with this person all the time. So how do you solve for that? Like, have you guys figured out certain questions that kind of tend to get to the bottom of a person's values quicker than others, or like how have you guys sorted out that piece?
Yes, for the communication part, we gave them scenarios and we asked them to record themselves because that was really important part for us, knowing the fact that we're going to work remotely and most of the time the clients will face them via Zoom,
Hmm.
like recorded meetings. We've asked them to respond how they will react to this type of situation and to record themselves, to present how they will solve the problem, what will be their attitude, and so on. And then when you see someone recording when he's alone, nobody's interfering, then you can see the expression,
Mm.
whether it's a positive or stressed or maybe uh, too strict, too formal, to, when you're recording yourself without interruptions, without distractions all around, then you can see how that person reacts and talk to someone who is from other side of the Zoom call. And regarding the values, we also use scenarios, questions like there is no correct answer. But for example, if you have this situation, if you need to stay 2 hours longer at work to solve a client problem, would that be an issue for you? And it was not an issue, but it was like, this is ABC. This is not a problem with me because my focus is to serve the client. This will be a problem for me because I need to go sharply at home because I have this and that. Or I don't want to work overtime because I want to have a strict working hours. And now I'm just improvising, but
Yeah.
that were the scenarios that we were offering to them to see how the reaction will be. Or for example, if I find a mistake in clients' books or some fraud, or how I will react. Would I be transparent, react it immediately? Or I will wait for the client to ask me why this is happening, or I don't know, why is this mistake in my book, and so on. So here is the proactiveness, the care for the client books. So that's how.
Yeah, that makes sense. I saw well, you've mentioned this and I saw also on the website that you are kind of when you do trainings for either other companies, but also you train employees that you hire, I'm sure. Did working in the corporate setting, was there a lot of so the analogy that comes to my head in terms of being introverted is like the engineers. Like engineers don't like to talk to people generally, especially software ones. They'd rather just sit in their office and never talk to anyone. Um, are accountants similar in that way? I imagine you can be face down in a spreadsheet and not have to talk to anyone. Is that a fair assessment? Okay, so then the follow on is like for you to kind of train and get out of, I don't know if it was necessarily an issue for you, but Zoom, especially with you guys being remote, Zoom is a very easy platform for somebody to just check out mentally. Like, yes, okay, I'm here, yeah, blah blah, blah. I listened to the training, but there was no interaction, there's no um kind of engagement that you might have if it was in person. Um, for you, did you have to make that own shift in your head to be a little bit more extroverted and be communicating all the time? And then on top of that, how do you feel that you've been able to bring some of the accountants or the people that you've hired or even the ones that you're training that work um, at other places to like kind of bring that communication out a little bit more of them?
Yes, so accountants in general are introvert.
Hmm.
So they're more like, I want to do my job and not expose myself
Yeah.
publicly. And that's okay, there are exceptions for sure, but the highest percentage is that higher percentage of the people are introvert. And the statistics are showing that. But, and me personally, for example, I am introvert, but you cannot realize that because I've learned how to say, control that introversy and be open and be communicative and smiling and someone who is friendly to the people. So what we are doing when we are training the people who are working for us, for sure, we don't train everybody to do that because we have a processes and systems in place where certain people are doing the work behind the scenes and certain people who are, of course, have the knowledge but are more open and willing to communicate are client facing. So That's how we've solved that issue. And when it comes to the making people to communicate, when I'm teaching them, I'm trying to explain that, okay, no matter how great you are in what you're doing, how would you expect that person to understand or to acknowledge that you are good at something if you don't communicate that, if you
Mm.
don't show yourself, if you don't open yourself? So, if you want to work remotely in this global world, no matter where you are, no matter how good you are, you need to start learning communication. So you need to start to open yourself, because that's the reality. If we are not accepting that and adapting to that new reality, then we will be stuck in some place that and yeah, doing our job but with our progress and without nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of a tangent, but also not really. Are you guys using AI at all?
Yes,
So
yes.
how are you guys using AI?
We mostly use to automate things. We are relying on AI to make easier, for example, some processes that we have built in place. When we are writing things, we are not like spending hours and hours, but we are making the structure and then summarizing that document. And in that terms of also automating some manual tasks. For example, we get notification when something has changed into certain spreadsheet and so on, which saves us time. But of course, we need to, because AI is something that is basically evolving each and every day, and you need to learn a lot of new things. So we are constantly learning, focusing on learning, but we are not like using AI for doing the work in terms
Yeah.
of doing accounting with AI. No, because I personally believe that yes, you can automate certain things, but what brings the value to the people is this type of communication. When you're explaining to that person what is going on, no AI can do that, at least for now.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that people often want to know or that you feel that I should know about what it is that you guys are doing?
I think that yeah, you've asked everything that is important. So yeah, I wouldn't say it cannot come to my
Hmm.
mind now.
Okay, so
What
we touched on this a little bit, but what is something that maybe is most misunderstood about accounting, the industry?
um yes, something that is most misunderstood is that accounting is some sort of service that you can choose that you will have or not, because most of the business owners, not most, some of the business owners I have started working with were like, okay, I don't need an accountant, I can do it on my own. Yeah, you can do it, but all those mistakes that you're making because you're doing on your own can cost your business. So I think that people should try switch their mind shift into that accountant is someone who is a partner in your business. It's not an expense. It's someone who will help you to do more, someone who will be here for you when you don't know how to solve the things you're facing with in terms of finances and running your business. So I think that part is we need to educate the people and work on that more. Why they need accountant, because nowadays what I've seen is that okay, I will buy an app who will be doing the bookkeeping for me, and then I don't need an accountant. Great, but you need to set that up. And what will happen when you try to generating reports that you're not understanding? What kind of decisions you're going to make based on that app that you're using? So but again, it's everybody's strategy, way of how they want to run their business. There is no good or bad. Whatever you envision for your business is a good thing, do it, and then you will get the feedback from the market very, very quickly, and then you will see whether you're doing mistake or not.
Yeah. What's next for you? For you and your businesses, you personally and your businesses, next like I don't know, 2 to 5 years, something like that. If you could wave a magic wand and everything went exactly as according to plan, which it never does, but if it did, what do things look like for you and for your businesses in the next couple years?
Yes, for the first business, for the next gen, I would love to see a community of people who are well trained, educated to offer this type of services on the global market. And I envision to put Macedonia on the accounting map in the world, because that is something that is for now unknown and unfamiliar for most of the businesses who are thinking about outsourcing. And the second thing, when it comes to the book series, of course, we are still young here. I envision to have, of course, more clients, but most importantly, to find my ideal customer persona that I will be serving the best I can. Because now, yes, we are working with digital businesses, but those are different from small one to mid-size, and we're still learning and trying to figure it out what is the best for us and for the companies as well.
Makes sense. Any last thoughts before before we wrap up?
Yeah, last thoughts would be for all entrepreneurs. Before you start your business, please try to understand your why you're doing this, because it will be a very hard times along the way. And if you don't know your why and the purpose why you're doing this, it will be very hard. And when it comes to the numbers, make sure you understand your numbers in order to make a proper decisions. And lastly, sit down and reflect at what stage of your business you are, because every stage of the business requires different attention. And yeah, that would be it, my last thoughts.
Yeah. Where can if people want to find out more or go to your websites and stuff, where should they go?
Yeah, they can visit our website, bookseries.com, or visit my LinkedIn page, my personal LinkedIn profile, and our company page. They can message me or schedule a call with me, and I will be glad to help them out to figure it out, but whatever problem they have in their numbers.
Very nice. For the people listening, those links will be in the description as always. Anna, I very much appreciate your time. Very much learned a lot. Love talking to people from other countries and just exploring new things. So thank you. And for those listening, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next time. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to the World XP podcast. If you want to watch another episode like this one, click there. If you want to subscribe, click there.